In this video of OG55, we are on location. Obviously, the OG and the Italiano on one screen. First time ever. We are talking all about the rivers of America at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom, going away for a new Cars-themed land, also making way for Villains Land. This is crazy news. Very controversial. Up next on OG55. Let's get it. Get it. Welcome aboard, everybody, to this very special edition of OG55. We are on location. Hey, look, we do apologize. We are in a hotel, so the connection might not be as good as it usually is. If it, freezes up or whatever, please have patience with us. But the Italiano is with me today. Welcome back, George.
Absolutely, and great to be here, and in the flesh. Actually, we got the AI going on here, so it's like, first time we're actually doing it together. One computer, one mic, one room, one show, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we could produce some good entertainment for you folks. But if you'd like to find me on social media, you could do so on Twitter. I just messed that up. On X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base in Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There it is, Julie. Sticky. Perfect drop, George. And now listen, we do want to say before we start, we were at the D23 Expo this last weekend. All 3 days, we met so many people in our community, and it was amazing. We had an amazing time. It was really awesome hanging out with everybody. Really good time. It's really great sometimes, I think, to kind of get to see the faces connected to the Twitter accounts or subscribers that watch us that, we see them in the chat, but we never met them in person. It's always good to see everybody. And to all the people that came up to us and recognized us, thank you so much for coming up to George and I and showing some love. It was awesome. Very humbling, but we do appreciate you so much. And also, real quick, before I take it over to you, George, big shout out again to Lucas Kim. Lucas Kim made it all happen. He got us those tickets for that 3-day D23 Expo event, and we cannot thank Mr. Lucas Kim enough. But George, go ahead. Do you have any thoughts?
Absolutely, yeah. Just to echo your statement, I thank everyone for coming up, hanging out with us, having a good time. Even if it was just a quick conversation, we really do appreciate it. The fact that so many people recognized us,
it's crazy,
and approached us was it was beyond humbling. It was so awesome, and and again, thanks to Lucas for making it happen, because without him, none of it would have happened. We wouldn't have been able to see all the presentations, the panels, all the fans, everyone out there that are just as diehard Disney fans as us. So we appreciate you. We appreciate you, Lucas. And for anyone that you're probably going to wonder why we're wearing these wristbands, but the hotel gives us these to access the pool and jacuzzi. But we definitely asked them to kind of stay on brand. Give us the orange, because the Orange Grove 55.
Come on. You got it. Okay, so we are going to dive in. So we have a lot of content coming to you guys. We are, like I said, on location. So, it's going to be a little less probably for the next week or so, but we're going to start ramping this up because there was a lot to discuss in regards to these announcements. First and foremost, though, Walt Disney World is going through some major changes, and the fan community is losing their mind. I mean, losing their mind. This is from WDWNT, breaking the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island to be transformed into Cars expansion at the Magic Kingdom. And I think even the Villains Land that they showed is a part of this overall area. You can scroll down just a tad. Thank you, sir. It says here, the Disney Parks blog has confirmed the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island will be transformed to make way for a Cars theme expansion in the Magic Kingdom. Okay, so this is interesting. This is what it's going to look like. Look, this is a very controversial thing, right? And I understand. Look, I understand the other perspective in terms of like, you know, a castle park and having the rivers of America. It's very important. Here's my thoughts on this. They announced to us they are trying to improve the capacity at these parks, the capacity. And I'm sorry, Tom Sawyer Island, if you want capacity, is not it. Okay, it's not extremely popular. It doesn't cycle a lot of guests through, not like this will. Okay, this is normie driven. The normies are going to eat this up along with Villains Land. And the Villains Land, by the way, I do want to say in terms of Villains Land, I think that was a huge shot at Universal. Okay, you're talking about a franchise with the Villains, $1 billion franchise. Okay, $1 billion franchise. One of the biggest draws to Epic Universe is Dark Universe. We've talked about it here on the channel. I love Dark Universe. It's one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to for Epic Universe. And Disney said, you know what? We're gonna one up you. We're gonna build something that looks equally as dope, and we're attaching our Villains franchise to it, which I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but the Villains are a much more relevant and viable franchise. Yes, people recognize the Wolfman and Frankenstein, but in terms of money and moving merch, there's no comparison with these two. I'm telling you, y'all wanted a response. Y'all wanted a response from Disney, and Disney really did drop a nuke on Universal in so many ways with this D23 Expo. We will talk about that. I don't want to digress too much, but George, what are your thoughts? I mean, they're removing the Rivers of America here at the Magic Kingdom. Do you like the decision, not like the decision? Where do you stand with it, brother?
Okay, so for me, I'm going to start off by saying that I was one, before going into D23, of the rumor speculation that just cars in general coming to the Magic Kingdom. I was personally not a fan of that because my perspective on it was that we were going to get a East Coast version of Radiator Springs Racers that's out in DCA, and it was going to be a light version. We weren't even going to get the full Cars Land.
Well, yeah, because the rumor, to elaborate on that real quick, George, the rumor was that we were getting Radiator Springs Racers without the land. So that's a different equation than what we're getting here. This is all new. This is a brand new Cars Land created literally from the ground up, a completely different concept. Okay, but go ahead. I do apologize.
Absolutely. So yeah, so for me, when they showed the concept art, I was more intrigued with it. I wanted to know more. I still want to know more. You know, we got several pieces of the concept art, which I do believe, if I scroll down some, they have some. I can go back. Right there. Yeah, so like right here. So we have some concept art that they showed us at the D23 presentation, and as you can see, this is completely different than what it is over at DCA.
Well, and I like this too, George, because it's sort of like, okay, it's connected to Big Thunder, because Big Thunder, I believe, was inspired by the geography in Utah, right? Or something like that.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And so we're going to have and our friend Jack from DSNY did a great video on this, but we're going to have geysers and that kind of stuff in this area. I think that connects really, really almost kind of perfectly to that Big Thunder attraction. You know, I also do want to say this. The concept art, I've been around a long time, okay? I've been in this community, like I say, since the mid-90s, since AOL, news groups, okay, talking Disney. I remember the lead up to Cars Land for DCA in 2012. The artwork never does the justice. If you look back at some of the old concept arts for Radiator Springs Racers and Cars Land in general,
it was horrible.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It was very
hokey. It was hokey looking.
Lackluster.
Yes. And I'm telling you right now, Cars Land is one of the most beautiful. And I think a lot of you that are watching this have been through Cars Land, right? Cars Land is one of the most beautiful environments that Disney has ever done. Okay. Ever done. The grand reveals when you go under that archway from San Francisco, it's absolutely stunning. Look, I'm not saying you have to love this decision. Okay. I'm not going to tell anyone how to feel. All I'm saying is have a little bit of an open mind, because what we've seen already with what they can do with these massive Cars Lands, they hit a home run the first time. Okay, they hit a home run the first time. We have the same CEO now that we did when they built the first Cars Land. Okay, now I understand people are upset, very upset about losing Rivers of America. Here's the thing with that. the thing with losing the Rivers of America is it's hard. It's a tough pill to swallow because there is so much nostalgia and it feels like such quintessential Disney. I understand the anger. I understand the sadness for that. And this is going to sound really cliche and people will probably roll their eyes, but it's the truth. And I'm sorry if the truth bothers you, then that's fine, whatever. But it's the truth. These parks are not museums. These parks are meant to change, to ever evolve. These are creative sandboxes. Okay. Walt Disney said it many times. These places are not meant to just stagnate. Okay. If Walt Disney was around, he probably would have bulldozed half of these places and rebuilt them 10 times over by now. You know, I understand. We love the Rivers of America. We all do. The atmosphere, the ambiance, the vibe. It's beautiful. Okay. But the mission statement from Walt was these places need to evolve. So it's evolving. Okay. The Imagineers are giving us something completely different. Okay. Let's give it a chance. You know, I know there's like this thing out there that's kind of like mentality, the sentiment, like if you tell people to wait and see and give it a chance and you're a shill. That's absolutely not true. It's actually really open-minded to do that. And if it opens up and it does suck, I'll be the first one to say it. Okay. But I don't think it will based on the previous Cars product from DCA.
And then also too, kind of going off even to the Cars concept, I am a firm believer that I do not like to see a lot of things mirrored with either Disneyland and Walt Disney World. That was one of my big problems with the notion of having Cars in Walt Disney World is when I go out to Disneyland for DCA, I look forward to seeing Cars Land. So the fact that this is something completely new and different, it gives me some more excitement to go to Walt Disney World. Because to be honest, everyone was saying on Diz Twitter and on social media platforms that the parks, especially for Walt Disney World, aren't really doing so hot as far as with the number of guests going through the turnstiles. Now that could possibly be because of inflation, just economic, issues, personal finances, what have you. But as a turn of an investment for Disney to capitalize on these parks and to also gain more traction for more guest flow, this is something that would need to be done because we also have to take into consideration Disneyland and Walt Disney World are two completely different beasts. When you have the Rivers of America over at Disneyland,
that's a different story.
It's a completely different story than the Rivers of America in Magic Kingdom.
Yes, people say, "Oh, well, why can't don't compare the two? Just because Disneyland's is better doesn't mean that we should get rid of Walt Disney World." But it does matter because, like George said, these are two different things. The Rivers of America at Disneyland holds more weight significantly. It's a much more significant thing. There's a lot of history there with that, more so than what we're seeing here with the Rivers of America at Magic Kingdom. The other thing that I want to touch upon here, though, too, is this weekend we got a ton of announcements, and we're going to do a lot of videos on this. George and I have been very, very critical of Daddy Josh going into this expo. We told you guys at home, guys and gals, what Daddy Josh needed to do, right? What Daddy Josh needed to do to hit a home run. And Daddy Josh, and there you go. And Daddy Josh did like a checklist almost of everything. He announced a ton of shit. Come on, let's be honest. I've never seen an expo that announced this much stuff. He gave us dates. He said there's shovels in the ground. We're moving. All this will be done within 5 years. All that stuff. All this positive news at the expo got announced. George and I were losing our voice. We were going nuts. All this positive news, and then I get on to Twitter, and it's a bunch of like people crying about how all this stuff isn't really going to happen. This is all blue sky promises that they're going to break, and we're not going to get this stuff, right? And that was the narrative for like a couple of days. Then on Monday they announced where they're getting rid of the Rivers of America. Now suddenly. Now that this is perceived bad news, removing the Rivers of America, it's perceived as negative news. Now suddenly the fandom, they're firm believers that this stuff is actually going to happen. Well, wait a minute. You're crying about the Rivers of America going away. Oh my gosh, they're destroying the Rivers of America. But a day ago, you were saying none of this stuff was even going to happen in the first place. Pick a lane, and that's a Cars joke.
Yes.
Pick a lane. Okay, pick a lane. Either this stuff ain't happening and it's all blue sky and all bullshit, or it is happening and you can be upset about River America, but you can't have both. And that's what really has bothered me. Believe me, there's a lot of stuff this weekend with the fan response to this. It's been extremely frustrating. You know, we have been begging as a community for a nighttime parade at Walt Disney World for how long? And we got one. We were begging for a Villains Land, and we got one. We got one that looks dope. And honestly, it looks, in my opinion, better than the Dark Universe, at least in that piece of art that we've seen. It looks incredible, and it's based on great characters that everyone loves. There's so much here that they gave Walt Disney World. It's insane. And not to mention the Indiana Jones stuff, Tropical Americas. We even got a Monstropolis land coming to Disney Hollywood Studios. It's just a ton of stuff. And the Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run updates. Daddy Josh, and people watching our channel, you know I've been very critical, and George has been very critical on Josh. But you know what? You got to be honest. A win is a win. And he won. He did a great job. He absolutely delivered. He absolutely delivered. And instead of being honest and saying, hey, look, you know what? The guy came through. He gave us a ton of announcements, more than we've ever seen before. Give the dude some credit. Instead, it's a bunch of, well, I'll believe it when I see it. You know what? Then why even have the D23 Expo? If you're not going to believe anything, then why even have Disney announce anything? Why have them have an expo in the first place? What do you want them to do? You want Josh to invite you over and hold your hand and walk you over to the construction site and show you the shovel in the ground? What the hell do you want them to do? At one point, you have to believe it at some degree. You can't, you know what I'm saying?
And again, we went into that with the optimism, but also kind of like not exactly sure if that was the route that was going to go, because we have been disappointed so many times with these announcements. But when Josh literally stood up on stage in front of 12,000 people and said, this is good to go, green lit, shovels in the dirt, none of this is blue sky. He said it. No, none of it. Not one announcement.
And we thought he was going to do blue sky. We thought he would do. He told our friend Alia like a few months back.
She did Adventures by Disney.
She did Adventures by Disney, and she straight up asked him, "Hey, Josh, we're kind of tired of the blue sky." He told her back then, "We're getting blue sky. We're also getting official concrete announcements." He didn't even do any blue sky. They changed they flipped the whole script. They gave tangible stuff, like concrete stuff, green lit, ready to go, all built within 5 years.
And I have to say, I've always been a fan of Josh D'Amaro as a person. I think he's a tremendous guy. I got to have a picture taken with him at Disneyland. I actually chased him down Main Street, USA, but you know, I'm a fanboying out here. But when it came time for him to be chairman of the Parks and Experiences, I hesitated because I didn't know if he was really up for the gig up until this point, this past weekend. But I have to say, credit is given where credit's due. And I'm sorry, he knocked it out of the ballpark with this. And I feel like what he has done, that he said everything that was announced is not blue sky, it's greenlit, and all of it is going to be done within a 5 to 6 year radius. Everything. And we got stuff that we never would have thought we were going to get. I mean, they were announcing, and we're going to do a whole video on the Disneyland stuff. Don't worry. We'll do a whole video on that. We were hoping that we would get information on the Avengers e-ticket. Not only did we get information on that, we got an announcement. They're adding 2 rides in Avengers Campus. 2, I think Daddy Josh said something like it's doubling the size of the campus. 2 attractions, okay? And speaking of that, during that segment, Imagineer Scott Trowbridge came on stage, and he actually said something that we caught that Josh actually corrected him, where he used the term something of you might see construction with it, and Josh
corrected him and said, no, we will. Yeah. You will see construction. This is happening, shovels in the ground. Josh made it very clear, okay? Very clear in this presentation. This stuff is happening. Permits are being filed. You know, we'll talk about that in another video. Permits are being filed. Things are happening. So look, here's the thing. Y'all wanted a response to Epic Universe. That was the rallying cry for years. When's Disney going to respond to Epic Universe? Why are they not doing anything? They announced a shitload of stuff, and then it's like everyone's upset still. Everyone's upset. Oh, well, now they're going to touch the rivers of America. Well, this is what happens when you build new things and you add, okay? Things might get touched. Things might get removed. That's part of progress. That's part of investment, okay? I don't know. You all wanted a response. They gave you a massive response, and you're all still mad. I don't understand it. And I don't mean you all. I'm saying the people out there that are super furious over all this stuff. I don't understand it. This is what we wanted. We wanted Disney to roll up their sleeves and actually build shit, and they're doing it, and people are still upset. What will it take for you to crack a smile and actually like something? It's frustrating.
And actually, during the Legend ceremony, when Jamie Lee Curtis got up for her acceptance speech, she actually mentioned she's an old school person. She loves everything of how it is, the nostalgia, the originality of it. But she said change happens and change is good. And she ended up having the whole arena sing "A Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow" along with her.
First of all, that was a beautiful moment. Yeah. And I love the Honda Center element of it. And we'll do a video, we'll talk about it. But, look, George and I aren't saying that you have to love every single change, okay? We don't love every single change. I still don't think Cars is a great franchise for Magic Kingdom. I don't think that franchise necessarily fits really great in a castle park. And I stand by that. Now, I will say this. I'm encouraged. It's a new land and a new take on that franchise and not just cut and paste Radiator Springs racers. So that's good. But I still don't think it's a great franchise overall for a castle park, okay? You don't have to like every change. You don't have to like every element of what was announced. I don't. We're going to get into detail. There are things I love, things I like, things I didn't care for. But I'm telling you, we got out. We were in that arena. We were going nuts. It was announcement after announcement after announcement. Then one more thing. Here's Villains Land. I mean, it was a home run. And then you go outside the Honda Center. You go on Twitter, and everyone's bitching and complaining.
And we literally thought that there was going to be no issues with it because the people actually walking out of the Honda Center with us, they were all excited. But then it's like, I don't know where it actually like transpired to where it became so negative on Diz Twitter and on social media. It's almost like there are people that are looking forward to all this stuff, but it's like once they get on social media, it's almost like they have to be forced to dislike something to have their voices heard.
Well, and the elephant in the room is that it's more lucrative and financially incentivized to be negative and, attacking the Mouse House or going after Disney.
Ching, ching.
Ching, ching. But, there's money in that. Let's not pretend that there isn't. It's a very lucrative thing. A lot of people talk about shills and stuff like that and getting, you get a privilege to like go to these premieres early, or you get to go to on the attractions a week early and this, that, and the other. That might be true. That might be true. But on the other end of on the other side of the coin, you have these negative sort of like anti-Disney people that make a ton of money on trashing Disney.
They claim they love the company, but at the same time, you don't see not one thing positive. Like us here on OG55, we're fair. We're critical, but we're positive. We look at the good, we look at the bad. We look at both ends of the spectrum. But when you bring out the negative aspects in everything, down to like the nitty-gritty detail that no one would even think that you would be.
Well, if you have to do mental gymnastics to hate something, then maybe this isn't the thing for you anymore. And that's kind of how it comes down for me personally. If there isn't anything Disney's producing at this point that's making you happy and it's causing actual misery in your life, it's time to move on.
Yeah,
it really is. And and not to say that you can't dislike things. I want to make that very clear. But if Disney is going down a path that you just can't stand and nothing is exciting to you anymore, it's time to move on. I've had things that I used to enjoy that I don't really care so much about anymore. Got to be honest. I mean, I love Star Wars, but I'm not as into it as I was maybe a decade ago. I pulled back. You know what I'm saying? I pulled back. Sometimes you got to do that. If the parks aren't doing it for you anymore, the announcements aren't doing it for you anymore, the direction they're going in doesn't do it for you anymore, you find yourself hating all this stuff and there's very little positive coming out of it, it's time to move on. But that negativity is monetized. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily an organic thing, you know, but so there's a lot of that out there as well, to be honest, but yeah, overall, I think personally, I think Daddy Josh did everything he had to do with this D23. And we have been so critical of him for years, George and I. We've been calling out Josh before a lot of fans were, okay? And honestly, he hit a home run. He hit a home run to the point where it's like I'm kind of thinking like, maybe he is like possibly okay for the CEO spot. Like it changed my perception of Josh a lot, because it wasn't just, he didn't just do what he needed to do. He did it and he went, I think, over above and beyond. I think he excelled. Like I said, going into this expo, if we got news on the Avengers e-ticket and news on Pandora, I would be happy. And we got so much more than that. I mean, we got a Coco Dark ride. We've been talking about that, how much we wanted that in DCA for years now. How we wanted some Latin America, elements in this park. About California, it makes sense. We're getting that. A beautiful Coco Dark ride. We're getting 2 attractions in the Avengers Campus. The Pandora artwork for the Dark ride in the land is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Y'all drool over like this Epic Universe stuff, and this Pandora stuff looks every bit as good, and maybe a little better in my opinion, but we got a ton of great stuff. He hit a home run, and I'm sorry, I'm going to call it as it is. I've been critical of him, but if he won, he won. It's a W. This was a great expo.
And honestly, I feel that this kind of solidified the notion for Josh that maybe what was going on the past few years wasn't necessarily all him. It could have been situations coming off of 2020, and not, resetting the whole company, Chapek getting let go, Iger coming back, Josh in the middle of the crossfires. Now, I didn't think that at first, but after leaving D23 this weekend, I'm starting to question that now, if his hands were tied a little bit. Not saying that none of it was his fault.
Right.
But I'm wondering if, he kind of got used to, okay, well, we could just give a maybe, coulda, shoulda, woulda type of thing. But the fact that he came out and he did his job, what he was supposed to, kudos to him. And I have to just go back a little bit to the
and he watches the channel. I know he does, because he made a hair product joke.
He did.
How many times have we made hair product jokes in relation to Daddy Josh? I'm certain he watches OG55.
Yes,
I'm certain.
And who actually said that too, and he mentioned Josh, was actually John Stamos. So for John Stamos being a huge Disney fan, I wonder if John Stamos watches the channel.
Maybe, but it was a great expo. Now here's the thing: I want to ask you guys, everybody at home. When was the last time you remember a D23 expo that we got this many announcements? I can't remember. I was excited. I was over the moon in 2015 when they just announced Galaxy's Edge. Just one major expansion, one land. You're getting Villains Land. You're getting the Cars expansion. You're getting Pandora. You got like multiple Galaxy's Edges in this expo.
Yeah, even when Chapek was chairman of the parks, I remember the one expo, they mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind, Ratatouille, Tron, and I think the addition of an extra cruise ship. And just even that alone.
And in this expo, Daddy Josh like, yeah, we're going to expand our fleet. 4 new cruise ships.
Yeah.
Look, a lot of people made fun of Disney and the turbocharge. This is turbocharge. Okay. Like I said, you don't have to love every announcement. You probably won't. Okay. And that's okay. But this is a lot. And there's no going around that. It's a lot. Okay. We haven't even talked about the internationals. There's just so much going on. And they're giving us what we want. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this right now is because it's frustrating that when they listen to fans, the fans are still pissed off. Mm-hmm. It creates an environment where Disney's not going to even listen to us, you guys. If we're going to act crazy, okay, oh, we want this, and they give us this, and oh, we don't want that. Like, it looks nuts, okay? And we want Disney to look at the fans and listen to us more, right? And take the fans seriously, right? So that's what frustrates me when they basically hand everything you've been asking for on a silver platter. Again, not perfect, but most of it is pretty much what everyone has been asking for. They hand it to you on a silver platter, and it's just all complaining.
And I think Kim Irvine said it best on the Imagineering story when she was talking about them adding Disney characters and IP into It's a Small World, where, you know, people were giving like outrage.
Oh, they were threatening
threats.
Yeah, it's out of control.
And she said, you know, we appreciate guest feedback. We appreciate your love for, you know, the characters and the attractions and the company. But at the same time, us as fans have to trust them and let them do what they do best. That's been going on since the conception of the company over 100 years ago. Now, going back to the Tom Sawyer Island, Jack, friend of the channel, DSNY, as OG had mentioned earlier, did a phenomenal video, and he touched upon the notion that the Villain's Land is also going to be part of the removal of Tom Sawyer Island. So it's not just the Cars area. This also affects the Villain Land. And I'm sorry, come hell or high water, Villain's Land will happen, and no one's going to stop it. Nobody. But in all seriousness, though, there could be a whole notion that if they were to have kept the Rivers of America, because a lot of people are saying, you know, Magic Kingdom has a lot of land, while Disney World has a lot of land, which it does. If they were to put Villain's Land behind the Rivers of America, I don't know as far as like the connection. They could have pathways, but that might be one hell of a walk.
Well, and there's a gentleman. What was his name on Twitter? Bill?
I remember. Oh gosh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll follow up. There's a gentleman on Twitter who actually explains the whole River of America thing. His name is Bill. I just forgot his last name, but he did like a 6-paragraph tweet on it, and it was really well written. But there's logistical issues with the river, and they can't just shorten it like they do at Disneyland. They had to remove it essentially. It wasn't really that well designed back when they built it in 71. It wasn't, and Disney made the decision to get rid of it. And that's another thing too. Us as fans, we're looking at it through a one type of optic lens where we're just looking at the outer part. Oh, it's the river. It's there. It's fine. It's perfect. Internally, though, behind the scenes, though, we don't know what Disney has to go through to keep that river functioning on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot there, and we're on location, so it's a little hard. But I'm gonna find that tweet and we'll do a video on it. We'll kind of read through it. It was fascinating, and it really does shed some light as to why they did what they did. Because all too often fans, what they do is they jump to conclusions. You know what I'm saying? And it's always like this rush to be like, Big Mouth's bad, and they're just cheap, and they're this, that, and the other, and they don't care about Walt. And it's like there's a lot more to it behind the scenes that fans aren't privy to. It's so easy just to make these assumptions, you know. But you know, we'll see. But like for example, the Doctor Strange show over at Avengers Campus, everyone was claiming that they're shutting that down because Disney's cheap or this, that, and the other. And who knows? It might be a lot of it because they're not building just one e-ticket. They're building another attraction as well. And maybe they need some more room in regards to fitting all that in. See, but we didn't know they were building 2 attractions, right? So that's why it's important not to jump to conclusions. You know, if you ever watched that movie Office Space, yeah, remember the jump to conclusions, Matt? Yeah, don't be that guy.
Yeah. Or also, to quote another movie, Under Siege 2 with Steven Seagal. One of my favorite lines in the movies: assumptions are the mother of all fuck-ups.
Exactly. So anyway, we're on location. We're gonna wrap it up. But overall, and you're gonna get a lot more content from us. We're gonna try to do a lot of these videos. The Italiano comes back on the 21st. So it's going to be probably hotel videos and things like that for a little while, but we're going to try to get out as much as we can. We have a lot of thoughts on all this stuff. And the expo was honestly an amazing event. Beautiful. The people we met, our friends, such a tight-knit community, you know, not just with OG55, the channel, but like just in general, the Disney Parks community. It really is awesome being a part of that. Yeah. Really and it was great meeting everybody. And we'll get into all that and we'll talk about it. But this was a great expo, you guys. Okay, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are for whatever reason, whatever agenda, whatever they got going on, they're going to try to tell you that it's the worst, this is a terrible thing and yada, yada, yada. We literally got almost every single thing that we were asking for. Come on. You know what I'm saying? I will get into, though, there are complaints about not enough Disneyland announcements. I'll dive into that a little deeper on another video, but I've been saying all along DCA needs the love. Okay, DCA has really fallen behind, I think, since 2012. Yes, we've got Avengers Hallway, right? Avengers Hallway, as Bricky calls it, and we've gotten San Francisco. Not a lot of huge investments. Meanwhile, Disneyland got a 15-acre expansion with Galaxy's Edge, a reimagined Toontown with Runaway Railway. They're getting Tiana's on top of it already being the most stacked Disney park in all of Disney parks. Okay. So DCA needs to step it up. They need to invest and focus on that park right now and get it up and catch up. It'll never be on Disneyland's level. Let's be honest. There'll never be that many attractions in DCA, but it needs to ramp up. We haven't seen significant investment in that park for a very, very long time.
Now, here's the thing, though. There is still a possibility it may reach up to Disneyland, kind of as far as like the number of attractions go, because as of right now, we don't really know necessarily where any of these attractions are going to go. We still don't know if Avatar is going to be part of the Simba parking lot or Hollywoodland. Coco, we don't know if that's going to replace the Paradise Gardens or, again, in the Simba parking lot. We just don't know. So if there are some things that it does replace that's already in the inner sanctum of DCA and they don't even touch the Simba parking lot yet, that can host a lot of lands and attractions for DCA.
Exactly. So, and a lot of people don't care about DCA, and I get that. It's not Disneyland, but you know what? It sits just feet away from Disneyland. So it sits feet away from the park I do love immensely, Disneyland. And it also bears Walt Disney's name on the sign, like all of these Disney parks do. So I don't care if it's not technically a Walt park. He wasn't there for it. I don't really care. It has his name on the sign and it's feet away from Disneyland. That's enough for me. I want DCA to be incredible and mind-blowing. And that Avatar stuff, dude, we'll talk about it. Incredible. But before we go today, George, if you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. And right before I do, I just have to say really quick, this is a video that we wanted to kind of get out first just because of the whole blow up on social media and everything. Yeah. But the next several videos that are coming out, we will be diving into a more positive environment of all the stuff that we had witnessed at D23, at the parks presentation. And then we're also going to do other things. We're also going to have Lucas Kim back on, where we're going to dive into just the overall.
And he met Bob Iger.
He met Bob Iger.
He got a picture with
everybody.
He got a picture with Bob Iger.
He met everybody. He was like just jumping all over the place, and
all that special access I get, and I didn't even get to meet Bob.
Dude. I know. It's like I guess he wanted to spread it around a little bit. He's probably like, you two see me too much.
Yeah, exactly. Too many brunches, you know. Yeah. And plus, I've been hanging out more with Dana Walden these days, anyway.
That's true. Yeah. But anyway, if you'd like to find me on social media, you could do so on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. See what happens when we're in the same room. We get into shenanigans. And of course, you can find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of OG55. We are doing more videos, probably on location for the next week or so, but we would love to hear from you in regards to everything we discussed today, whether it be the fan response to this stuff, which has been super annoying, let's be honest. A lot of it has been. This was a great expo, and I think we should all be happy as fans, but we want to hear your opinion on that. We want to hear your opinion on Disney removing the Rivers of America and Magic Kingdom for Cars and even that Villains Land. What are your thoughts on that? We would absolutely love to hear from you. Comment down below. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.